one of the problems here is that maybe one of the things ritual conveys is a sense, when it works, is a sense of history and tradition, and participation in this larger. And I think that one of these obstacles that we have is, like I love when people talk about like Valentine's Day or Mother's Day. These are fake holidays, they're like made up by the greeting card companies. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with a day to celebrate mothers? Like,
Hmm.
just because Hallmark's idea, just because it was invented within your lifetime, maybe, or I don't even know when it was invented. Like, it was, I think it actually has radical origins, if I remember correctly. But it was maybe invented in the 20th century. Therefore, it's not real. And so there's this interesting dimension um, in which there's a traditionalism about tradition, right? There's a prejudice towards venerable tradition over.
Hmm.
And one of and there's also a problem, and I think that's an uphill climb we have. And the other
Yeah.
climb we have is that if we're really genuinely free thinkers and skeptics, like there is room for like us to have many routes to this, many plans for this. I can't tell you how. Like, I mean, can we even count how many different groups are out there trying to
Yeah.
develop the method? Or like so many people are like, oh, I'm gonna work it out, and it's kind of funny and kind of cute. And now maybe it's just a natural selection process. Maybe if a whole bunch of different kinds of groups grow up, they interact. Some of them merge, some of them die out. Like
Mhm.
maybe eventually the Walmart of humanism will arise and just destroy all the others. Just by sheer effectiveness, right? Maybe it's just a struggle for natural selection uh, of uh, of a marketplace of techniques and values, and then eventually the mixture that works, fringulism or something, will just dominate, and that will be it. Or maybe several major. Maybe we'll have, maybe and maybe that's the ideal. Maybe the ideal is that we
Yeah.
let we let 1,000 flowers bloom, or we let all these different approaches work out, and then maybe we'll wind up with 5 or 6 basic different ways that atheists want to be expressive of these sides of themselves, and most people feel comfortable in one of those 6 different expressions.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're right, and I want to say absolutely for the record that it is not the desire. One of the projects that the humanist community at Harvard runs is called the Humanist Community Project, and I've been very involved in that from the start, like determining a bit of what it's going to be about, and helping put together a proposal for it, and raising money for it, and really trying to push it. And people took that very strangely. Like when we announced that we were doing this, we were very surprised by some of the responses we got. And so what the idea behind that project is to help along the process that you've just described, which is to help people who are interested in developing communities for non-religious people, local communities with real spaces, places where people can actually come together to meet, to do that more effectively in whatever way they think is the best way. And we obviously have our vision for what we want our community to look like, and we're going to talk about it, we're going to tell people what it is, and we're going to be excited about it. But we do not want every community to look like our community. There is going to be, in this country, there's a huge demographic shift taking place, and it's extraordinarily exciting, and most of the sociologists are totally missing it. It's one of the great civic changes of our time, is the slow death of religion in America. Like, there's no other way of talking, and it's not even that slow. I mean, maybe that's even the wrong word. Demographically speaking, it's extraordinarily fast. I mean, that was a Pew or Gallup poll recently that said that 30% of the country was, by their definition, not religious, not atheists or humanists, but not religious broadly. That's huge. It's amazing to see this happen, and I strongly believe that there will be people out there developing forms of non-religious community, and that they will start to compete in a sort of space of communities, the sort of similar sort of space that religions currently inhabit, because they're basically one of the only existing community center spaces that many people have in their cities and their towns. And I really hope that people come up with hundreds of different ways of doing this. And what we want to do is try and host some ideas from people who are doing that to say, well, we want to hear about what you're doing. We're going to tell you about what we're doing. We can share ideas and try stuff out and see what works. Because ultimately, this is going to be, a matter of trying to find what works for the sorts of people we want to attract, what they care about, what they value, what they really need out of a community space. But the idea is not to take over. I was just baffled when people thought this was the idea, because to take over existing groups and make them into one model, this is not like Sauron at work. We're not going to go out and colonize different groups or student groups and make them into Harvard humanist groups. We don't really... We're happy to partner with groups who want to, but we're not franchising, right, and going around and kind of establishing them. We want to start the discussion about what does non-religious community look like, and help people engage in that discussion in a way that's more focused and more practical than has come hitherto. Because very often we talk in the abstract about things in the movement, and we're really interested in making real change happen. And so we want to be able to say, well, have you got a chaplaincy? Like, there's a humanist chaplaincy at Rutgers. There's one at starting at Stanford. Well, what's going on there? What does that look like? I mean, is it good to call it a chaplaincy? We want to host that discussion. We don't want to, one of the reasons we changed our name is because we respond to criticism from the community, and we want to be clear about what we're doing. So the idea behind that project is to help the process you described exactly, is to help tons of different forms of expressions of non-religious community to flower across the country, and to see what works, what people find value in, what really is assists them in flourishing and in getting what they need.